So, what if I told you there was this secret weapon, one that some of the greatest speakers in history used, a weapon that could totally transform how you remember and share ideas? Well, today, we're going to uncover exactly that. A memory technique so powerful, it turned regular orders into absolute legends.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Before we had teleprompters, or PowerPoint, or even little note cards, how on earth did guys like Cicero stand up and deliver these incredible, hours-long speeches completely from memory? Speeches that moved entire nations. It wasn't magic, not at all. It was a skill, a kind of lost art, really, and we're going to rediscover it right now.
You've seen it, I've seen it. That speaker who's just glued to their notes, right? Their head is down, they lose eye contact, and that emotional connection just evaporates. It feels so mechanical. But then you see someone speak from memory. It's a whole different ballgame. They're looking right at you. The flow is totally natural. It feels real. Their ideas land with so much more power. That's the difference we're talking about here.
So, who was the master of this? Well, at the center of it all was the legendary Roman statesman and orator, Marcus Tullius Cicero. And for Cicero, having a powerful memory wasn't just, a nice little trick. Nope. For him, it was the absolute foundation of power and influence. And this really gets to the heart of what he believed. Cicero was convinced that for a speech to be truly persuasive, it couldn't just be words you read off a page. It had to live inside your mind. It had to be a part of you, something that was alive and breathing, ready to be shared for real. Okay, so how did he actually do it? What was this big secret? Well, he used a technique that's ancient, but it is unbelievably powerful. It's called the memory palace. So what is a memory palace? The idea is actually brilliant and super simple. You just take a place you know like the back of your hand, maybe your childhood home or your apartment right now. Then you mentally place the main points of your speech in different rooms or spots in that place. When it's time to give the speech, all you have to do is take a mental walk through your house and pick up the ideas as you go. Simple, right? All right, let's walk through an example to make this super clear. Let's say you have to give a speech about why reading is so important. Okay, using this technique, you'd start at, say, the front gate of your house. And right there at the gate, you imagine a giant open book, just sitting there. That weird vivid image, that's your trigger. That's your intro. Okay, so you walk through the gate and into your living room. And what do you see? You picture books, dozens of them, flying around the room like birds. I know, it's a little bizarre, but that's the point. That crazy image is the anchor for your next topic, how reading expands our knowledge. All right, next stop, the dining room. You walk in, and sitting there on the table, served up on a platter, is a giant dictionary. Maybe it's even steaming. Again, a totally unforgettable image, right? And that's your cue for the next part of your speech, all about building a great vocabulary. From the dining room, let's head to the bedroom. And who's hanging out on the bed? Imagine your favorite characters from a book, just chatting. Seeing them there instantly triggers your next point, how reading fires up your imagination. You see how this works? These personal, vivid images make remembering the points almost effortless. And for the grand finale, your conclusion, you walk out onto the balcony, and you picture yourself looking out at a beautiful, bright sunrise. That feeling, that image, that's the trigger for your powerful closing statement. And just like that, by taking a simple walk through your own house in your mind, you've nailed the entire speech. No notes needed. So right about now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a cool party trick, but it sounds a little old-fashioned. Well, here's where it gets really fascinating. Turns out modern neuroscience is totally backing this up. Get this. Scientists have figured out that our brains are basically hardwired to remember places and images. It's an evolutionary thing, you know? We had to remember where the good food was and where the saber-toothed tigers were. So when we take an abstract idea like vocabulary and we tie it to a real place and a weird image, we're essentially hacking our brain's natural programming. It makes remembering things not just easier, but way, way stronger. And hey, this isn't just some dusty old theory. The memory palace is still the secret weapon for all kinds of high achievers. World memory champions, they use it to memorize an entire deck of cards in like 30 seconds. Top lawyers use it to remember every little detail of a case in court, and students everywhere use it to crush their exams. This thing is just as powerful today as it was 2,000 years ago. Okay, so what's the big takeaway for us today in our crazy information overload world? How can we actually use this to make our own minds our greatest ally? Here's the bottom line, the practical stuff you can start doing right now. First, stop trying to memorize sentences word for word. It's a waste of time. Instead, lock on to the big ideas. Second, turn those ideas into crazy, vivid, memorable mental images. The weirder, the better. And third, place those images in a location you know really well. That's it. That simple shift can honestly revolutionize the way you learn and communicate. You know, it's fitting to end with a quote from the man himself. Cicero said, "Train the memory, and the mind becomes your greatest ally in expression." And he was right. 2,000 years ago, he knew that a trained memory wasn't just about not forgetting things. It was about unlocking the power to express your ideas with total confidence and clarity. So the real question isn't whether it works. It's, are you ready to build your own memory palace?